plagues, right? And we're gonna finish the 10 plagues next Shabbat. So we are in a certain transaction since last week's parasha, Shemot, Vayera, and Bo. Also, Beshalach, it's going to be the actual Kriyat Yam Suf, but it's like a combo, like a group of parashiot that we are in the middle of the exile, and yet we see light at the end of the tunnel. But you know what's interesting? The Gemara writes that what was the zechut of Am Yisrael to go out? Thank you so much. What was the zechut of Am Yisrael to go out from Egypt? What was their merit? So the Gemara brings down the three well-known reasons that we know. Lo shinu et shemam, lo shinu et malbusham, and they didn't change neither their language. These three concepts, they didn't change it, and because they didn't change it, that was their zechut to go out from Mitzrayim. Now, if you'll ask me, I will say that's a zechut. That's the worst thing that could happen. Imagine you see a guy, religious, long beard, with a kippah, with a hat, without the hat. In Mitzrayim there was no hat. Okay, but with the full clothing of a ben Torah, and this guy does all the averot possible. Avodah Zara, Gilui Arayot, whatever you want. What are you going to say? What is the chut that he has his white shirt and his kippah and his tzitzit? What is the chut? Disaster. You're acting in an external way that you're becoming tzaddik, but inside you're terrible. How come the Chazal are telling us that was the main zechut that Am Yisrael had to go out from Egypt? It's such a big deal, right? In Israel, I remember there was a big issue. I'm talking about maybe 2 years ago or more. There was a guy, that was double personality. Was avrech, married with kids, and every single day was going to kollel, black and white. Sitting at night, his wife was going to sleep. He was changing his clothing and traveling to Tel Aviv. Disaster. What a chilul Hashem, right? This type of person did. So sometimes you say to yourself, you know what? Don't do chilul Hashem. It's better if you anyways acting with doing averot. So stop wearing those clothing that people are going to look at you like, oh, this is a religious guy. Now, Rabotai, there is a midrash, and the midrash brings down that the reason in the zechut that Am Yisrael left Egypt, the midrash says something else. The midrash says the zechut that they had was the emunah that they will go out from Egypt. That makes much more sense, right? We all know that v'chamushim alu bnei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. We'll read this in Parashat Beshalach. What's v'chamushim? A fifth, 20% went out, and why? Because we know that all the rest they died in Makat Hoshech because they didn't trust, they didn't believe on Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Rabotai, that I understand, but how the midrash gets connected with the Gemara? The Gemara says doesn't even mention emunah. And it says really the Gemara and the Midrash, they both go on the same path. It says Am Yisrael, unfortunately, they got into a very low level. They had actually, with the logic, no chance to go out from the culture of Mitzrayim. Shi'abud Mitzrayim, to become an Eved. What's an Eved? What's an Eved? A slave. What's a slave? The slave means that you are under your desires. The desires control you. So Am Yisrael, they got into such a point that they couldn't control themselves anymore. So they had emunah that they will go out from Mitzrayim and Borei Olam will take only people that feel Jewish. They said, listen, we do Averot. It's too hard. The Yetzer Hara is too big. But something of Judaism can we keep? Even something external, that it's not changing something inside us. You know, just having the tzitzit, or having the speaking the Jewish language, having Jewish names. Can we at least keep that in our community? And that zechut of lo shinu et shemotam, lo shinu et malbusham ve'et leshonam, show their emunah that they know that Borei Olam is going to take them out from Egypt. Thank you. And that's, Chazal is saying, it's going to be the same game before Mashiach's arrival. Emunah means, and listen to this, is crazy. I heard from a guy that did teshuvah in Israel. This guy was born in a kibbutz with a kibbutznik family. Zero connection, not only connection. They asked him, did you hate religious people? He said, of course. What's the question? Of course. No, the Gemara writes that an Am Haaretz, his sinah, his hate to Talmidei Chachamim, it's greater than the sinah of the Goyim on Am Yisrael. So he said, of course I hated them. So they asked him what was the change of his life. But you know what he said? He said, today, they asked me if I believe on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I say, Chas Shalom. Say, Chas Shalom. What do you mean, Chas Shalom? He said, אני מאמין בקדוש ברוך הוא, אני לא מאמין. אני יודע, I know. I don't believe. Believe it's not something in our dictionary. וידעת היום השבועות לבביך יצא ידיעה. Emunah that we have in our Torah doesn't refer to believe. That's not emunah. We have to know Borei Olam. We have to get to the clear conclusion that Borei Olam exists and He managed the world. And the Torah is telling us, go and make research. You'll find Him. He said that how he became religious. He started to bother the religious people in the streets of Tel Aviv. Whenever he saw a religious guy, he was preaching them. The problem was that he was getting answers. And those answers were making sense. And he was scared, listen to this, he was scared to become religious. So he decided, I can't leave. He said that he went to Bulgaria with a couple of friends. After a while that he was in contact with religious guys. When he got there, he said that they were standing in front of a pizza store. And his friends were ordering all type of pizzas. Now beforehand, I just forget to tell you, this guy was eating even on Yom Kippur. He said his family were doing barbecue on Yom Kippur. That was his education. Zero connection. You know what he said? He said, I was standing in front of that pizza stand, and then I thought to myself, should I eat the other pizzas that is not with the meat, with the pepperoni? Should I eat the other one, or should I take the pepperoni one? And then he said, I asked myself, what? Since when you're thinking about eating kosher? And then he said, I was so scared about myself that I decided to learn to be ateo. How do you say? Atheist. Atheist. I started to learn that. I needed to show and to prove that Judaism is fake. And then more I learned it, more I understood that I was fooling myself. So he said, so what's emunah? We have emunah, right? We have emunah in our Judaism. So what's emunah? Emunah is not belief. Emunah comes from the word imun, emun, to trust. When, right? When I have imun becha, when I feel that you're a righteous person, ani ma'amin becha, I trust you. Bitachon is a different level. One day we'll speak about that. So he says that was exactly the point of Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael, they believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's the proof that they believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Last week's parasha, when Am Yisrael had a break of work, right? They all prayed to Borei Olam. But what was the emunah, the zechut of the emunah that make them go out from Egypt? That they trust. One thing is, I believe that Borei Olam exists. I know that Borei Olam exists. The other thing, do I throw myself to his hands? And whenever you throw yourself into the hands of somebody else, you have to prove it. You have to show it. In the way how you act. And even if you're not in the highest level, small things, small details shows how much you trust on the ones that are on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Those were the three levels. Lo shinu et levusham and malbusham ve'et shmotam. These three concepts showed their trust on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Chafetz Chaim finished with this, and I'll finish. Chafetz Chaim, we all know, and I told you this in the past. It was asked before he passed away. He told his students, he said, there is a terrible gezerah coming up to the Jewish communities in Europe. And he told them that the Chafetz Chaim passed away in the year 1933. 1933, just after he passed away, Hitler, Menachem of Zikro, he went up to the power. When the Chafetz Chaim said that, so they told him, Rabbi, is that going to be Gog Magog? He said, no. Gog Magog is going to be even worse. He said, according to what you're telling us, is that possible to have it worse? And he said, yes. Because Gog Magog is not going to be worse in physical war, but it's going to be spiritual war. How much we're going to have emunah on HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is going to take us out from this balagan. Unfortunately, more the time passes, we were sure that after the 7th of October, Mashiach is coming right away. That same year. Yeah, I still remember a son and rabbi that said, Pesach! Until Pesach, Mashiach is coming. You know, we have no clue. No rabbi can tell you when. But one thing we have to know, whenever we act with emunah, with the trust, the Borei Olam is with us in the dark moments, and we don't stop trusting him, that's going to be the merit for us to get out from the exile. So Yiratzon should be zocher in this parashiot. Same way that Borei Olam took Am Yisrael from Mitzrayim, he should take us out from this galut, and we should be zocher לגאולה שלמה במהרה בימינו אמן. רבי חנניה בן יחשוע אומר רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך לבא להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר אדוני חפץ למען צדקו וידי תורה וידי